economic reasons, freedom of speech reasons, and just basically leaving those borders. So if a global and big economy like China is experiencing that in that drove and magnitude, the same thing is happening here in Nigeria. And you see, it's not new. In the 70s and 80s, we had this. In the 70s, I was quite younger. In the 80s, yes, I was quite aware of the Andrew syndrome. So it's something that has been happening. And usually there is a trigger when those things happen, when people want to flee. And I think that's where we are right now. We're in that contractual time trap where people just want to move. Are we going to see this in another 10 years? Maybe not, when certain things I'm sure we're going to discuss here happen.
Exactly. So
it's a phenomenon.
So Kende is saying, I mean, a takeaway from Kende is, look, this is another Andrew that is living. Shola, what's your thought on that?
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Kende, for setting such an amazing foundation. Good afternoon to me and every other person. 2022 has been such a peculiar year for everybody around the world. You see nations groaning. I mean, this is not about individuals relocating. If nations, if countries, if continents could literally relocate, they will relocate, because it's been such a difficult year, especially in the world of finance and much more. So just like Timmy said, it's an exodus, it's a migration for me. I think that apart from the quest for a better life, right, it's also pressure induced. Like when you look at your social circles, you see, like I was telling my husband, we're discussing a couple of days ago, we counted about 30 people in our immediate sub-unit in church who have relocated. Now, if you do not know what you're doing, if you do not know where you're headed, you're likely to, feel that pressure and want to also relocate. So many things are happening. The peculiarity of 22 on one hand, global economic phenomena on another hand, the quest for a better life on another hand, and of course, pressure on another hand for a lot of people. So it still comes down to individuals.
It cuts across from what you're saying. I'm hearing even churches, even institutions, the workplace. That's what I'm hearing. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Let's hear Temitope Olukunle's perspective to this. What exactly is this JAPA? What are we talking about?
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you to the panelists as well. Great conversation right here. While I was introducing this topic to my community, I used certain 3 words. I mean, JAPA is synonymous to a lot of things. So when you see things like welcome to a new dispensation, you see things like goodbye Nigeria, you see things like VPN deleted, they are all referring to the same thing, JAPA, and it means different things to different people, but just like everybody said, it's just the movement of our people, movement of our resources outside of the trust, and it's just not in Nigeria. And just like Shola said, people move for different reasons. People move for security, for sanity, for safety, for their future, for citizenship, for leverage, for startup funding. If you see a lot of startup entrepreneurs now moving out, for fundings, people are strategic, for better quality of life, for future of their kids, for a lot of things. And most importantly, just like she mentioned, that's for peer pressure, because we see things that are happening online. So people move for different reasons, but in summary, just not to overflow this, it's just the movement of our brains, of our resources, of our people outside of the shores of the country, just like every other country moving.
So exactly, you are saying, look, it's normal. I mean, security, safety, and all that. So people move for those normal issues. All right. Kokola, what do you say to JAPA? What is it?
Yeah, I think everything has been said. The only thing I'll add is that what we see in this wave, because I like what I think Kende had said, that this wave is not new. I was born in the UK because my parents JAPA'd, let me not say exactly when, so you don't know my age particularly, but it's a pretty much standard phenomenon. And I spent a big part of my personal background in the US, but I came back to Nigeria because there was pressure also in the US where I was at the time, height of the global financial crisis. There's a lot of consolidation at the time also in the US. So it probably made sense to consider your options as to what your professional career would look like there. So that was a pressure-induced reason that made me come back home to Nigeria. And there's several people also who at this time also face this pressure and induced reason to come back to Nigeria. And I say that because, so to your question, what is JAPA? I think it's this process of porting, as some people will say. I think that what defines this era the most is that it's happening really for financial reasons. Back in the 70s, it was more education-based. Back in the 70s, it was more maybe a particular ethnicity. You saw it more common with the Yoruba sort of, people who are going to read more, to study more and things of that nature. This, I think, for all intents and purposes, is more finance driven. People just don't think that they're making enough money in Nigeria. They don't think that there's enough opportunities for them in Nigeria, and they think that the right way is to go abroad. I think at the heart of this current movement is this sort of financial, career, future related calculus more than anything else.
Okay, all right, thanks, Temi. Let me take you on one of those issues. You said this is more of finance related variant of JAPA. But I've also heard that there's marriage, there is a study, there is a social connection, and maybe career, just like you said. But which of these variants, in your estimation, is the leading trigger of JAPA in the current wave that we're seeing?
Okay, thank you. I think if you just run a poll, and for anybody who runs a business today, or you are responsible for people and you find a lot of people who are leaving the country, what you find most of the time is that the heart of it is financial, that people couch around depending on who they're talking to. Sometimes they'll tell you it's education, right. Sometimes they'll tell you it's my husband has left and things like that. But at the heart is people just don't think that the country is working for them. And I think it's understandable. If you convert anybody, I tell this to people, even if you find a bank CEO today and you convert his take-home pay in Naira into dollars, you would find that that figure is not a lot of money by the grand scheme of things. And this applies to everybody from the top of the social ladder all the way down. You're a billionaire today in Nigeria. If you look at what you were worth in dollars 5 years ago versus what you are worth today, it's materially lower. So this is a unique thing that is common to every single one of us. I think what I see is that this tends to be the driver. In fact, when you look at many of the other factors, marriage, people actually historically did the reverse. One of the things that led me to come back home was I said, well, maybe there are better odds of finding the right kind of partner back home in Nigeria, where there are more people like you and people who understand the culture. So I think this wave that we see, also when you look at the demography, yes, of course, I've seen billionaires who are Japan from Nigeria. This is a statement of facts. Billionaires, very successful people leaving the country. But I think the heart of it is this youthful population. It tends to be the best of our brains, and this is where it starts to get very concerning. And I think the other bit is that unlike previous cycles where people were leaving to come back home, it wasn't unusual, for example, for somebody to go to Harvard to study and come back to University of Ife or University of Ibadan and continue to teach. Right. Most people, it's a one-way ticket now, and it's sort of waving goodbye, which I think is where it starts to get a little bit concerning for the country. Because if you take a step back, it's actually not a bad thing for people to leave and come back. When you leave and come back, you come back with capital, you come back with intellectual, sort of prowess. You come back with all sorts of potential benefits. Right. And these are the things that drive economies and drive countries. Right. If it's only one-way exodus is where I think it becomes a bit of a problem.
So the conversation I'm having, I'm hearing you put up here is that this is more one movement, exodus, like Kennedy said earlier, than a two-way like it used to be. Is that correct?
Precisely.
Okay, all right. Let's look at what are the major triggers? As Temi has said, we've had issues about finance, but a billionaire, according to Temi, is also JAPA or JAPA or something. And the key professional, maybe a bank MD, maybe we've seen it or heard about it, bank MD or people at a very senior level. Now the question is, what are the key triggers? Those salient issues that is really making people to leave, wanting to leave, purchasing a one-way ticket to live in Nigeria. What do you think? Kendi.
Thank you so much, BC. I think Temi nailed it in various aspects. Why would a billionaire want to flee? Top of my mind right now, the first thing will be preservation of your wealth. You want to move to an economy where you know the currency is stable. Nigeria has gone through a devaluation crisis that seems to have no end. So, and before people move physically, they've already moved in their mind psychologically. The next movement will be financial. People transfer their wealth, they convert to other currencies, and they move the currency of preservation. And then the third one will be the physical one we're all seeing, which is the physical movement. The second reason why people would move, apart from economic reasons, will be security, where you're not assured that you're going out and coming in is safe. Even though you may live in a cocoon, or you may have put around yourself some security, but when the news keeps getting closer and closer to where you are of recent happenings, you want to move, because first trigger in man is self-preservation. So beyond the financial movement, man now moves physically for security reasons. The third one is generational.
Right.
We've seen a place where you are comfortable and you are not sure your family, your children, the next generation will be comfortable. You're not sure you're going to be able to leave to them any nickel and dime. So you want to move to preserve the life of those children, their education, and their social positioning in the future. So for me, top of mind, those are the three main reasons, and I'm sure my other colleagues will add more value to this discourse.
Excellent. Let Temi or Olukunle take it from there. I mean, Temi, one key thing, following through from the last thing you said and from Kendi's submissions, she has raised quite a number of issues around why people JAPA and very valid reasons. Now, let's come back to the workplace. What do you think are the opportunities for JAPA? Are there opportunities at all? I mean, we have some of our colleagues in the workplace, they are here. I mean, some of them call themselves made in Nigeria. So what are there opportunities at all for them?
Okay, so the connection was a bit slow, but I didn't hear the last thing you said. For the people in the workplace, yes, that's the last place that I heard, sir.
Okay, yes.
No, I wanted you to go through the question again. I lost you for a few seconds. I don't know if it's from my side, yeah.
So I just took a cue from Kendi's submission and I said, are there opportunities for some of our colleagues still in the workplace, those who are not JAPA? Are there opportunities for them at all?
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for that question. Now, there's a global, this is the world, I try to welcome people to the global economy. I tell people that this is a world where it's beyond migration. This is the age of telemigration. It is the age where your expertise, your experience, your capacities and enablements can penetrate culture, can enter into global spaces where you cannot get into physically, where you can earn. So it's the age of borderless thinking. My yearly event that I call Borderlessness is for a reason. I did that because I found out that right from where you are in your country, you can begin to take your ideas, your skill set and earn globally. I had to leave my 9-to-5 everyday job because I found out that I could earn from my country without moving my body way much more than what I'm earning physically. I didn't have to JAPA to do that. My ideas JAPA. So it's a borderless world. Technology is the driver of that world where we are. So if you're in this country and you're thinking I am at a disadvantage, beyond the security reasons, like we've said, which is one of the reasons why people are moving, the sanity reasons, right? The economic reasons. Beyond all of that, if financial reason is one of the drive for you, there are opportunities and the opportunities are online. Now, I have some statistics right here that I quickly pulled up, for what is happening with the future of work. And I'm just going to quickly read that very quickly, if that is acceptable within the time that we have. 53%, exactly, about $1.3 trillion right now in the United States is being brought into the economy by freelancers and independent workers, people who are working remotely. So if economies like that are taking advantage of what is happening online, the opportunities online, I don't know why Nigerians are not taking advantage of that. It's the world of metaverse, NFTs, blockchain, artificial intelligence, right? So these things are not just about you have to be a techie. It's about using the technology as a driver to increase your earning capacity even from where you are in your home. And I think on the flip side as well, for businesses, because, I mean, if there are no businesses who is ready, who don't have the digital infrastructure and the technological infrastructure to enable you work from anywhere and earn, there will be an issue. So for the businesses as well, if your job can be done from anywhere, it can truly be done from anywhere. The best talent will not be at your doorstep. Organizations, startup entrepreneurs, businesses, they need to begin to see that the best of talent might not necessarily be physically in your office. So they need to open up their structure. If you have to get enablement, digital upskillment, just to ensure that you have the infrastructure to enable you, engage talent globally, engage people within the country. And then, as long as the job is getting done. So I think that would be the part that I would mention for career people.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, there's a line in your conversation that said, let your idea JAPA rather than your body JAPA. Mr. Popola also alluded to something like that. Go develop, there's nothing bad, JAPA, and then develop yourself and come back and then do what. Let's hear Shola's perspective. Now I want to take us into the impact. What is the build on this? What's the impact? Or are there both sides, negative, positive, midstream impact of JAPA? What exactly do you think we should be looking forward to from the economic perspective, from workplace, maybe from religious organization? What's your thoughts? Please share that with us.
Hi, thank you so much. I have been writing and taking notes, just learning from the speakers. This is really, really interesting. So I was looking up some statistics to even, sort of understand why people are migrating, and statistics to sort of support it. What has the Nigerian economy gone through? And I see that, between 2010 and 2022, unemployment has gone from about 6.4% to 33%. Inflation has gone from about 7% to about 20.77%. Last year, about 8,281 people lost their lives to insecurity, and about 3,490 people were kidnapped. So you see, yes, I mean, people have justifiable reasons to want to migrate, to want to relocate, to want to look for better alternatives. But back to your question, what are, the effects of this? I know that UK is the lowest hanging fruit for a lot of people. And right now, I am so much beefing Mr. Pola because my own mother brought my pregnancy Nigeria at 8 months. And I'm like, what? I can never forgive you. But hey, thank God for the opportunity to go to the UK anytime. You see a lot of people in charge, at work. Where have you gone to? UK. I read a report yesterday that said that the UK has made £1,931,000,000 from Nigerians who have come to the UK in the last couple of months. Now, it's a two-way thing. Now, this is money that could have remained in the Nigerian economy, but that has jackpot to the UK economy. And I know that between now and next April, before, some supposed rules are going to be turned around and all of that, people will still go. So there's no staying on the fence. Somebody is winning, another is losing. I read another statistics that said that last year, in 2015, 4,000 applications for PR was what the Canadian government received. Last year, in 2019, it was 15,595. And many people are still going. So we are enriching, so to say, these other countries in terms of, skillful people, in terms of financial resources and all of that. But for us in Nigeria, I like what Temi was saying about, what you can do. And as we were all talking, I talked about it. I am still obviously in Lagos, Nigeria. Why have I not jackpot? To be honest, maybe next year, maybe next month, anything could happen. But right now, I am here because I have been able to build systems around my business, what I can do. I speak to people from all over the world. I attend conferences where I speak as keynote. My businesses are diversified. So my own money is still here. Rather, I am bringing monies from overseas into the country. But how many people have been able to build their professional lives, have been able to, skill up to be able to do that? So to summarize your question, it's a win or lose affair. Other countries are winning, we are losing. But some of us are diehard fans, not because we want to be diehard fans, but because we see the opportunities in Nigeria. We will continue to hold forth and make money come to us, you see.
Thanks so much, Shola. It's possible to forecast possibility of JAPA or Andrew or migration. Shola says something about inflation is going out of sync, unemployment at 3, and so many other variables. The kidnapping business is escalating and all that. Now, that means that could be precursor. And if you also remember the Andrew period, which Temi Popola alluded to earlier, that was during the Shehu Shagari administration, if I'm right. And there was that austerity measure kind of a thing around that period. So the conversation is looking alike, that there could be precursors, that things that we could watch out for before we begin to see that type of migration. Temi Popola, I don't know whether you want to speak along that line.
Okay, thank you very much. One, I also had a question while we're on this. When I listened to Ms. Olukule talking about ideas, making money for her, if we can learn some of those ideas, I think it might be helpful before we leave.
Before we leave, right?
And see how we can also help ourselves. But to your question about precursors, you see, this is, I think someone touched on this earlier. It's not different from what you see globally. I mean, look at the Chinese. The Chinese government has an active effort to go globally, develop, for example, steel mines for their population to find jobs abroad, right? Because the capacity for China as an economy to find jobs for all of their citizens is just very limited. So, you know, this is part of just the global order. It's just, you know, a pure statement of fact. Now, again, I think what we're witnessing now is something that we haven't seen maybe in a very, very long time, which is some of your smartest and your brightest are going on a one-way ticket. And what is leading that? You know, yes, there are things around education, right? That's true. There are things around security. That's true. But again, at the heart of it is just an understanding or a feeling that Nigeria has not quite worked too well for most people, and so the other ways to go about. So what is the precursor? I think in this case, it is that. In other words, there's the natural cyclical order of people just moving around and emigrating and coming back. But there's a particular precursor now, where people say that if you look at many metrics, Nigeria has not really worked in the last maybe decade or thereabouts, and that's been the trigger. I think one of the things I'll add very quickly is that, you know, there's no one cap fits all, one size fits all. Yes, indeed, it might be the right thing to leave Nigeria today, and that's just a pure statement of fact. But the truth also is that after everybody is gone, somebody has to build this country. And so I say this to say that, you know, Nigeria also is the place for certain classes of people. I think when Shola was speaking just now, this question, I think everybody in the last year has to have asked themselves that question. Why have I not left Nigeria, right? Is Nigeria the only option for me? Again, it doesn't matter how highly placed you are or how lowly placed you are. And it's important to be able to answer that question as to exactly why you are here. And, you know, when I look at myself, the truth is, I think that there's an opportunity, for example, to create change, all right? And it brings everybody right back to what really are you created to be doing? What are you set up to be doing, right? In Nigeria, there is a need for people. There is a need for skill sets. There is a need for support. Now, whether that translates immediately to gains for you as an individual, maybe not, if we just look at the practical reality of where our country is today. But if you take a bit of a longer term view, Nigeria actually may work for a very big number of people. It's just, you know, what I think is a pure statement of fact. So overall, I think that's where I come from. It's important that everybody really does stress test this question. Should I be here? And frankly speaking, for a big number of people, maybe you shouldn't be here, and you should be thinking through your options. You should get off and not be lazy about it, and, you know, just sort of engineer yourself and disrupt yourself and shake yourself up and look through options that are available. But at the same time, also it's not for everybody. You might go there and it doesn't work, or it might make sense to remain here because of other opportunities.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Temgopola. I would like kind of to take that off from where you stopped and whether we are missing something as a country. You've really profiled the why, and more importantly, individuals are taking a decision to say, is this good for me? Is it right? Is it what I should be doing by now? What's my purpose? And all that. So Kennedy, is there anything we're missing as a country that is really making the best and the brightest to wanting to
leave us?
Yes.
And thank you very much, Mr. Onia. And I'll just go back to that question you asked around the implications and the triggers, because that is where we will find out whether we're doing something right as a nation or we're not doing it right. What are the implications for this syndrome or phenomenon on Nigeria? Speaking from a practitioner's point of view, I'm in the banking sector of the economy. There is a loss of talent. These are the productive part of the economy that would work and pay taxes that would drive internal generated revenue for the economy to work on social services. So where the productive part of the economy is migrating, who's going to pay the tax? And so you will see that the allocation available to be shared at the various tiers of government reduces. That for me is a major issue. The other issue is the drain on our foreign reserves. For a country to be said to be economically buoyant, your import cover must be such that you can fund your importation. We are net importers of the country. In 2018, $4.3 billion was spent on school fees demand by citizens like you and I. In 2019, 6.1 billion. 2020, 2.6 billion, 2021, 2.1 billion. And don't think it's reducing. It's because there was a rationing by the government, you know, on how much you can access for school fees. So 2020, 2.6 billion, 2021, 2.1 billion. Where have people funded this from? From the black markets. So it's not as if the 6.1 billion in 2019 has gone down to 2 billion levels. No, people have looked for alternative. But in the meantime, even what we are paying out right now is a drain on our foreign reserve and our capacity to stand in the Committee of Nations as a strong economy. That for me is also fundamental as a practitioner. The third one is the inflow of diaspora flows, which is a positive only if those emigrating are taking up economically viable roles and jobs. They go there as students and do night jobs that barely cover their expenses, and so they cannot repatriate funds, and so diaspora flows are not coming in. Those three issues are major on our economy, and everyone in government should be asking, there's something wrong. What should we be doing? What are the trigger points? There are three triggers that you will see that would show you there's a problem. Inflation. When you have repeated inflation, which impacts your marginal propensity to consume or save. So when people are not able to see value in saving their money because when it matures, the value reduces, they want to take a walk. The second one is devaluation of the currency. People are flying to currencies of safety, the US dollar, for example. And like I said, before you physically move, your money had already moved and is waiting for you there. Those for me are major issues, implications, and the triggers, and everyone in government should be paying deep attention to these issues. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Kennedy. Now, Shola, perhaps you want to help to deconstruct certain beliefs. While we're preparing for this webinar, a very senior colleague in the banking industry said, hope you won't be telling people not to JAPA. Shola, what will you be telling people?
All right, great question. I am not for JAPA. I am not anti-JAPA either. So I tell people that for everybody, there are three things that, should be of concern to you per time. Your personal economy, the national economy, the global economy. Your personal economy has to do with what you're making per time and what you're spending per time. You must be able to sit down to say, you know what, am I doing well? Am I running on deficits? Do I have extra at the end of the month? Mind you, JAPA does not solve any problems. It doesn't solve mindset problems. People go abroad and, they're still as miserable as they are in Nigeria. Yes, the structure, the systems are fantastic, but you've got to put in the work. And a lot of people also suffer the culture shock in the sense that in Nigeria, you get away with a lot of things. Your taxes, you don't file your taxes as and when due, and all of those things. But you get there, there's no place to run. You're literally running on, low energy, working back to back, taking the kind of jobs that you cannot do. So you do not have to JAPA before you attain some certain levels of income. I say for your personal economy, upskill. Think about it. Think about your personal situation. Some people will JAPA because they have children with medical needs. Justifiable. Some people are in the tech industry. They feel that when they JAPA, they can make more money. Justifiable. So look at your personal economy. Look at your personal circumstances. I am just saying, do not JAPA because everybody is JAPAing around you. I don't mean to brag, but I have had to intervene for 2, 3, 4 people who got into the UK and who had to call to say, coach, please bail me out. I want to borrow this amount of money. I've not finished paying my school fees. Things like that happen. Mindset is very critical. So whether you are here, whether you are there, it plays a really important role in you getting your finances well. And mind you, this JAPA thing is not just a Nigerian thing. I know people who have left the UK for Canada. I know people who have moved from the US to Canada. Some people have moved from Canada to the US. And that brings me to the second point, national economy. Look at your personal circumstances. Look at the country where you are. Am I able with my current skill set, with my current circumstances to do, what I want to do to attain the kind of life that I want to live? I have known of Nigerians who have moved from Nigeria to Ghana. So it can never be, what my friends are doing or what everybody is saying. And of course, the global economy. I want to remind us about what we said at the beginning of this conversation. Whatever you see now is a global thing. The US, for the first time in years, they have experienced such a phenomenal hike in the rate of inflation. Look at the UK. If you have been following the UK news, you know that literally every country is in a mess. Look at Russia, look at Ukraine, look at everywhere. So don't think that because you're living in Nigeria, you're just going to go into the UK and there's a fairy wand that just makes things better for you. So think about it well, please.
Thank you so much, Shola. Thank you very, very much. You spoke about personal economy, national economy, global economy, but more importantly, you now drove it down around upskilling. Temi Olukunle, what will you say about upskilling with that stem, the JAPA phenomenon?
Thank you very much, sir. This has been a phenomenal conversation. I think just like everyone has said, and just like Shola just mentioned, it's an inside job. When we relocate, a lot of times we just think because we've moved to a new environment, we suddenly become a different person. It is still the same you. You are the same you that moved from here. It's just that you have come to maybe a more enabled environment, but it's the same you. So if I'm coming with the same skill sets, with my capacity level, and I'm coming to a different system, I'm still going to be the same whoever I was there. So that's where digital upskilling, that's where it comes in. And I wanted to mention something quickly before I answer that question. I mean, just really looking at the other side of why people move. I personally got 5 admissions in the UK this year. And ideally, I mean, by now I should be there, but I stayed back for a reason. And so as we're here now, we don't know who is moving next week. That's the honest truth. So I'm responding to a comment that I saw about somebody saying, you guys should take a stand. Are you for or against JAPA? We'll come to that. But the truth is, Yoruba will say, Ojulari, amen, don't JAPA, Lola. So you don't know who is moving. We're just here. But the comment, and that's the truth, right? But the conversation is, it's about you upskilling yourself. Your capacity cannot be the same when you're here and you think you suddenly become from a lizard to an alligator when you are in a different space. So there are 3 key questions I'm going to ask you. The first is clarity. The first C is clarity, right? What do you want to do next? There has to be a question. You can't fix a situation by just moving forward. No, you have to fix that present situation before you move to the next level. Because if you don't fix it here, you think you're earning 50,000 naira here. And so because you think if you move to Canada, you'll be earning $1 million naira. Have you found out why you're earning 50,000 naira? Is it your sector? Is it your experience level? Is it that you're not current with the skills and capacity that you have? Do you want to pivot into a different career? Is it your job? So you want to know the fundamentals of why you are actually stuck. When there is a clarity on why you're stuck, you can move to the next level, which is congruence. What do I need to do to move to the next level? Do you want to learn a new skill? people are moving into tech right now. For you, is that the right thing for you? Do you want to go learn something new, or do you want to change your sector? So now we have fintech. You could be in the finance. So instead of moving to something like software developer, how about you move into fintech, which will still leverage on your financial background? There's agro-tech, there is biotech, there's insurtech, there is HR tech, which is my space. So there's a space for everybody, but it's even tech for everybody. So congruence, you want to get clarity, you want to get congruence. The third is the execution. Execution is the name of the game. If you are not moving, whether you are moving or not, have you started learning whatever you want to learn? And like I said at the beginning, technology is the driver of this future, of this borderless world. It doesn't mean you have to move to tech, but are there skills? Are there capacities you need to build? Are there something you need to add to what you're doing currently that you can leverage on? So let me give a practical example of one of the work that I'm doing. I had to leave 9 to 5, physical 9 to 5 early this year, because over the last 2.5 years, I found out that, and I was earning good, about $1,000 in my physical job in Nigeria. And I thought to myself, I'm not ready to move yet, but how can I move my skills global? Because there is an influx of international and global brands coming into Africa because they found out that we have the capacities. And that's why people are moving anyway. They lost with those jobs. But there's some jobs you can also get remotely. And I thought, okay, this is the best time for me as a person to position for this. I'm not leaving yet. But if Nigerian organizations will not allow you work remotely, which is one of the reasons why people also move, how about international organizations who don't mind work from wherever you are? What we need is your skills. And that's how I was able, to position for that. And people have different reasons. So just to wrap that up, clarity on what you want to do in terms of skilling, capacity, and then execution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Temi. Excellent. I hear so many issues you've thrown up in there about mindset. They need to upskill. They need to take that decision and hone your decision that this is what I want to do, and I go for it. Now, putting things in context, so far we've had about 45 minutes active conversations here. Temi Popola, I would like you to synthesize what we've been talking about here. And you have someone sitting right in front of you now. And the question to you is, Temi, should I go or should I remain? What will you be telling that person and why?
Okay, thank you very much. So I think what we can all agree on is that you can't really paint everything with the same brush, right? So regardless who you are, a highly placed person, someone in the middle, someone at the bottom, Nigeria might just be the right place for you, and it might not be. So we have to put that somewhere. But having said that, if we want to speak practically, if my barber came to me and said he's just gotten a unique opportunity to go to the UK for something or the other, and he's asked me what to do, and I didn't have any opportunity to ask him any question, right? Any question like, what's your family? What's your purpose? This guy is a barber earning maybe 20,000 naira a month or a week. Then he should leave Nigeria, frankly speaking. Again, just let me not be quoted as painting everything with one brush. I'm just trying to be as practical as possible.
Exactly.
Nigeria is an extremely difficult place, all right, for people who are at the very, very bottom of the pyramid. And it doesn't matter how much self-thinking and self-actualization and all of these things that they do, it's just the reality is that there isn't enough opportunity in the country. Yes, indeed. There would be the 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000 that would have had the rags to reach a story that says that Nigeria is the best place ever. But in reality, there's 1,000 other people for each one of those people. So again, just trying to speak as practically as I can. Now, away from that, if somebody who has a nice job, maybe at a bank, is a manager level, senior manager level person, earns maybe $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, and says, look, I have this opportunity also to emigrate. Do you understand? What should I be doing? The conversation is a little bit more difficult, right? In reality, again, I still will be pro leaving Nigeria for that class of people. But again, it's a little bit more difficult. There, you will step back and ask a little bit more probing questions. Do you understand? Back to what skills do you have? Where did you go to school? What sort of network do you have? What do you think you're born to do? But if you don't even have time for all that questioning, The practical reality also is Nigeria is a difficult terrain. You know, on my last trip to the UK, I actually actively asked every Uber driver that I got into, how much do you make a month? How much do you make a month from this Uber job? It's an average of £4,000 take home at the end of the month. Now, yes, the UK is not an easy place. You pay insurance and all these things that we can lay on. It's true. But at the same time, this is £4,000 that maybe 70% of a specific kind of population in Nigeria will just never earn, because such is the nature of the economy. All right. So again, for that context of people, I will be on the balance pro leaving Nigeria. Now, for another context of people, because I said earlier, Nigeria needs rebuilding. All right. And Nigeria is a place where people will find opportunities that catapult them to levels where you really never would ever think you would. And if we step back, there's also a very simple way to think about this problem. Maslow's, hierarchy of needs. Okay. At the very bottom, you're solving for survival. You're solving for food to eat. You're solving for clothes. At the top, you're solving for self-actualization. What you find is that a lot of Nigerians that emigrate and complain at the end of the day, not everybody, all right, but most people, the challenge that they have is that after you have solved these economic needs and this bottom line, baseline needs, you then have this problem at the top where you're asking, where are my people? Where are the people that understand my culture? What am I doing here? You see, that's a different kind of problem set. And that tends to happen when you're in your 50s, in your 60s, and you're thinking about coming back home. And that really is another kind of problem. Now, I say that because for those people who have solved these baseline economic needs, then the conversation about whether to leave or not is a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit more complex, because you could leave and the next month find out that all of a sudden I left this nice banking job to be cleaning toilets in London. That may or may not be bad. So I think if I were to summarize very quickly, that's how I think about all of this at the balance, and probably more pro people leaving, not living with a one-way ticket, regardless what circumstance you find yourself, because what you will find is that once you solve these economic needs, for the most part, it creates another problem that you then have to deal with. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Temi. Kehinde, I wanted to connect to that. Temi rounded up by saying, look, I mean, having situated each of those scenarios regarding people, their current status and all that, is reverse JAPA possible at all?
Thank you very much. We're all talking about JAPA because of the value of our currency. And that's why we say £4,000, you convert it at probably 800 Naira, it looks like a lot. We've been in this country before. I mean, I've been a baby at that time. We had a one-on-one with the GBP.
Yeah.
If we fix the problem, we would have a reverse JAPA. At the same time also, Temi also alluded to the fact that he had to do reverse JAPA for certain personal reasons, even though he was out there. Yes, you could have, if you have, like every other panelist has said here, if your social structure is tight, your financial stability is guaranteed, you can have reverse JAPA. Why are we living? Insecurity, cost of living, inflation, devaluation. If we fix all the economic issues with our country, we would have a reverse. At a point in time, while I'm trying to be too personal, some people came back. I came back from the US at a point in time. And that was because things were looking back much better here. Left as a banker, went out there, came back and joined and went back into the banking sector. Things were looking up, things were much better. You know, I was able to command more revenue. So if things are okay in Nigeria, we're going to see our teachers coming back, doctors, nurses coming back. However, the basic structures have to be fixed. Let me bring it closer home. 65% of African nations are suffering from negative migration, and 7 in 10 Nigerians want to JAPA. So as a continent, there are certain things that need to be sorted out politically, economically, and even socially. Why are people going out there and they're having a culture shock? The kind of things that we have here in terms of social support is not available there. Nobody will give you a nickel or a dime out there. You work for every kobo. Most people don't realize that. So here you can fall back on an uncle, an aunt. There you can't. So when people also get frustrated, they may be forced to come back home. So yes, reverse JAPA is possible. However, if you don't want to reverse JAPA, I'll quickly give you 3 things you need to do. Have an emergency fund. Have a stash of funds away that will be a cushion, a safety net for you to keep yourself financially buoyant. The second one is develop skills. Temi has mentioned that. Develop skills that would earn you additional streams of income. I'm an advocate of multiple streams of income. The Garden of Eden has 4 rivers. It's for a purpose. So everyone must not depend on one source of income. Warren Buffett said, if you depend on only one source of income, you are just one step away from poverty. So skills of skilling, Temi has said it, Shola has said it, and the 2 Temis have said it, very important. The third one is don't burn bridges. For you to have a successful reverse JAPA, don't burn bridges even here in Nigeria. And the bridges are 2, your social bridge and network, and even your own financial bridge. Some people are selling houses, selling cars, just doing away with everything. Don't burn all the bridges, because the tide will turn and Nigeria will take its place in the Committee of Nations very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Kende. Thank you so very much. Shola, what's your thoughts on reverse JAPA?
Honestly, I think I'll just ride on what Kende said already. Yeah. I've lived overseas, you know, in the UK, more in the US for extended periods of time. Because of the systems, the structures, and all of those things make, you know, life a lot easier. But for people who have been there to come home, considering the current circumstances, the national circumstances of Nigeria, I don't know. I'm not in their shoes. I'm right here in Nigeria. I'm sort of content with what I do. If opportunities show up in the future for me to go, I will. I mean, if, again, it falls within what I intend to do and what I want. I'm not sure the people listening to this want to, people who would fall into the category of people who want to, you know, do reverse JAPA. But for me, wherever I am, so for example, let me give you some examples. The kind of job I do has, you know, seen me relating with people from all over the world, serving people from all over the world, remote work. I think COVID was a blessing. I mean, during COVID, I developed courses, I developed coaching programs. At Smart Stewards, we did a lot of things that allowed us cater and reach out to people in about 35 countries. We have built a community of, you know, Africans in about 40 countries who literally patronize our products. So when I'm in the UK, we have that community. I go there, we talk. When I'm in the US. So again, it depends on what you want, where you're supposed to be per time. You doing the analysis and the review.
Right. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I would take Temi Olukunle, and this is the question. Now, we've talked about upscaling, we've talked about mindset, and Mr. Pukwala also profiled people into different buckets, saying that, look, it depends on who is taking that decision. What would you say concerning a professional currently thinking, I mean, you're in the banking industry, or you're in the oil, or in the telco, and you're considering that you're selling almost everything. Yet, what we have now is more of my neighbor has gone, my friend has gone, or my niece has gone. Then that's the bandwagon effect. Will you think this will continue, or we are nearing the end of JAPA? Did you see it continuing till when, or we are nearing the end? What do you think? Temi Olukunle, please. Oh, it appears you are muted. Okay, all right. There are a few questions in the Q&A while she comes back. Let me run through that. And I have 4 questions here. Wow. Mr. Pukwala, you have loads of questions here for you. So I'm going to read the first one. The first one say, at the height of the 2008 global financial crisis, Nigeria witnessed lots of Nigerians returning to the country. The financial banking industry was flooded with a lot of persons who practiced banking abroad, but hardly understood the financial services terrain in country. Are we looking at another cycle happening in the next few years? What are your thoughts? I guess that speaks to some of the things you experienced personally, which you share with us. Maybe you want to really talk more around that, Mr. Popola.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And I think to buttress the point, when you look at certain sectors today in Nigeria, they're actually dominated by Nigerians who had this reverse migration back to Nigeria and were able to adopt, whether there were global best practices, whether there were relationships, whether there were just expertise. Private equity is one very good example. A lot of the GPs, general practitioners today within the private equity space that have raised $200, $300, $400, $500 million worth of capital for investing in local companies are people who had worked abroad, schooled abroad, came back to Nigeria and were able to leverage those relationships to attract capital back to Nigeria. You'd see the same thing in so many other sectors. So this is a pure fact, as we said earlier, that as part of nations just building themselves, China has a very active program where they encourage the citizens to leave the country and then come back home to the country. So indeed, this is a trend that tends to work for countries. Now, do I think we see a similar trend? One, it's just a basic rule of life. Everything works in cycles. There's nothing we see that hasn't been seen before. So I think that just from a practical standpoint like that, yes, indeed. People are being forced out now, as we said, for several reasons. These same people probably will come back. All of these countries where people go, we've seen situations where the indigents of those countries start to protest because they think that their resources, their opportunities are being taken away by foreigners. That leads to pressure sometimes. We spoke about some of these sort of higher level needs and desires that people have. In America today, within the Black African American community, it's the norm now that African Americans that have never left the shores of the US are asking questions like, where am I from? Where are my people? What am I doing? And guess what? They go to Ghana. Some of them retire in Ghana. Some of them retire in Ife, in Nigeria, and different places to come back home. Talk less of Nigerians who have experienced this place before, to come back. So the real bigger question then is what sort of sectors, what sort of social things do we think this will drive when it does return?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Timmy. The same gentleman, Olufemi Akinrotimi, asked another question, although directed at you, but I would rather I have Shola answer this question. And the gentleman said, from an HR perspective, it would be interesting to know your thoughts around whom you will hire, a Nigerian resident in country or a remote Nigeria in the UK speaking learned or fake phonetics for the same role, assuming they have the same similar skill set.
Oh my God.
Which of the two will you select for the job role? Will you offer the same salary? Why?
let's remove all of those labels. The label of somebody speaking phonetics. I think that person is asking that question.
Just deal with it straight on.
I will employ proficiency. I will employ based on aptitudes. I will employ based on the value you're able to bring to the table. Incidentally, my team, I have a team of about 10 people. 4 of them are not even in Nigeria, and they're Nigerians. I have somebody in Israel who has just come back. I have 3 people in the UK. I have somebody in Canada. I have a team member in the US. So, see, the world has become a smaller community, right? And where there is value, that is where money gravitates. So whether phone or not, what is important is employ people that will take your company, to the levels you want it to get to. And there are various ways, by putting the right systems in place, having a strong HR structure, either by outsourcing it, either having it in-house, will help you achieve that. So to the person who asked the question, I look out for value. And in the same vein, I have seen people who have taken up jobs overseas, people from Nigeria, you see.
Value. Thank you so much, Shola. Kehinde, I guess now we are nearing the home run, and I'm not unaware you still have quite a number of thoughts that you want to put out there regarding this topic. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My thoughts are as follows. Money that we are all chasing through the JAPA route is not the currency or the naira or kobo or pounds or dollars in your account. Money is value. So wherever you are, you can command value and money will chase you. And that's why I like Shola and Temi and the other Temi to be spoken about borderless transfer of skills and economic power being money. So everyone, wherever you are, whatever your stand on JAPA is, develop value to the extent that even cross-border, you can earn and live a good life. Let me also add to everyone here, if you want to live a good life, you must first of all understand yourself, your value, the value you carry, and more importantly, your earning capacity. You see, when you have these three things well situated, the fear of missing out, which is FOMO, many people are moving because of fear of missing out. My colleague has left, my church member has left, choir member has left, pastor has left. You would understand yourself, your positioning, and your place of thriving. So don't just do what everybody is doing, do you. My name is Kehinde Olomojobi. I'm done talking for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kehinde. Now we're going to have Temi Olukunle. There was a question I was asking her the last time. I guess our network misbehaved. Temi, are you there? Can you hear me? Temi, are you there? Temi Olukunle? Okay, I'll come back to you, Shola. Kehinde said, you started the value song. Kehinde took it up and said, look, the new currency is not dollar, neither is it naira. The new currency wear a garment called value. So what's your thought on that as we near the home run?
I would say two things quickly. When I teach the concept of wealth, I tell people there are 4 types of wealth we should desire to amass. Financial wealth, which is what we are all familiar with. I want money in my account, the number of zeros in your account. I talk about social wealth as well, right? Social wealth is your network, the kind of people you have in your community that can do what money cannot do sometimes. Sometimes you want to do something, somebody comes through for you, somebody mentions your name in places where you cannot get to. They serve as sponsors, they serve as mentors, they serve as cheerleaders and all of that. I talk about time wealth as well, right? And under time wealth, I would like to say that when you look at the human life cycle, there are different phases. At a phase you're learning, you're going to school to accumulate knowledge. At a phase you go into the working class, whatever it is, and you start to work. At some stage you get into pre-retirement, and at the last stage you get into retirement. So talking about time wealth and time management, you must be able to know what you want per time and keying. Some people, you cannot JAPA effectively at 50. The energy levels are slowing down by then, right? And then the final one is what I call physical wealth. In all of these, you want money, but take care of your body as well. So for me, time wealth, physical wealth, social wealth, financial wealth are things to consider because at the end of the day, they all bring value to you, right?
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much, Shola. Temi Popola, I want you to give us your own home run remarks. Can we have about 5 minutes to wrap this up? 5 minutes. So what are your thoughts from all we've been discussing? You've experienced JAPA. You say you JAPA how many? You're a veteran. And it'd be nice if I have a question here that's saying that Mr. Popola should tell us how he's been able to do several JAPAs and he's still here. So you're a veteran. So just talk to us on this. Share your experience.
You're muted.
You're muted. You are muted.
Thank you very much. The classic error. My view is that, you know, everything we see in the world works in cycles. Things tend to be cyclical. So there really shouldn't be a case where you make a decision and you're locked in to that decision. There must be room that I made a mistake with a decision. There could be room also that this decision was the right decision for a specific time and a period. So that's the way I would view this. Again, at the heart of the Nigeria situation today is an extremely challenging, trying time for our nation, pure and simple. Financial, you know, security, and on the stories go. I think someone touched on this earlier. How much long-term do we think these problems persist? That also could be a lens through which you try to make this decision. If it's a real long-term structural challenge, I mean, we all hope we get it right by the next elections. If, God forbid, we don't get it right, then again, I think this situation then gets accentuated. Because it just will be the sort of right. So overall, I think what I would say is that there is no one size fits all. This is extremely important point. Do all the research that you need to do, a lot of the thinking that you need to do, the consultations that you need to do, understand where exactly you're trying to go, and just always remember that the grass is not always greener on the other side. But indeed, it could be greener on the other side. Just make sure that the decision is very well thought through. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hone your decision. That's what I'm hearing. Hone that decision. Once you've taken that decision, just hone it and then run with that, your decision. And as I wrap up in the final Q&A session here, there is a question that says, what are your thoughts on getting dual citizenship as the last resort for the worst case scenario? I think that person is looking at the possibility that if that decision fails, what should I do? Olukunle, you want to give that a shot?
First, sincere apologies, my connection. Yeah. And I think these are some of the limitations of the third world Africa. This is why people are just buying. Yes, and that's the honest truth. Because all the internet alternatives that I tried did not work. Yes.
Right.
So, and because I'm in the HR space, I've seen people lose opportunities because of this same internet connection. So I don't blame people who want to move. A guy just lost an opportunity with PwC last week because come to calls like this, he's been disconnected 4 times. Put on your video. They can't wait. They can't wait for all of these things, right? It's the reality. So this conversation, I don't know what I've missed, but I'm just trying to put a balance in case people think, when I'm on, you know, people have genuine reasons to move. So back to the question, visa is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. And the truth is, let awareness be a priority. Questions are the currency of the future. If you think that getting a dual citizenship what would work for you, go for it. That's the honest truth. At the end of the day, while we're complaining that, you know, I don't have this, I don't have that. So people are also scaling through in the same economy that we all are in. So whatever you think is your next level, whatever you think you need to do to fix that next level for yourself, please go for it. Nobody will do it for us. The government will not do it for us. At the end of the day, even in terms of your family, a lot of times people now, we are the local government of ourselves. We are the one providing all of these things for ourselves. So you already know you're on your own in this type of country. So this is the time to put those thoughts into actions. Just getting the visa is not a strategy. Hoping that it will work one day is not a strategy. If you want to get it to citizenship, please go for it. Just be future forward.
Thank you so very much. Now, here we are at the very, very end. It's been a no-holds-barred conversation here today. It's been very, very hot. I could see questions still popping in, but we are at the exact time we are resting this conversation. FundQuest, we are the FundQuest. We are FundQuest Financial Services, putting all this together. And we're so excited and so happy and grateful to the 2 Temis in-house, the Kende, as well as Shola. It's been an awesome time sharing your space, sharing your thoughts, sharing you talk about social capital. It's part of what we've leveraged in here today. And quite a number of issues are here on the table. I'm so excited that this conversation is on record and we're happy to share it as we go along. And Temikupola said something that, look, you have any idea you want to share with us to make more money, jokingly, but I picked that. I won't let that go easily. So we can share some of those ideas and then begin to make more money. So on behalf of all my colleagues in-house, Joanne and everyone that put this together, the managing director of FundQuest, Biodun Akinjaeju, we want to thank you so very, very specially for honoring our invitation. I look forward to seeing more of you. Thank you for awesome insight you've dropped in here today. You can never tell some of the destinies you've saved, some of the decisions you have enriched, and some of the mistakes that that people will avoid making as a result of listening to you. So I want to thank you very much. My name is BC Oni. I remain the host of today's conversation. So thank you very much. In case you still have questions to our attendees, I will say it this way. All your questions will be answered. The ones that we cannot answer in-house, all our guest panelists will be too happy to send us written answers to them, and we'll send them to you. So we want to thank you for attending, and we look forward to seeing more of you in our subsequent conversations. Temi, thank you so much. Temi Kupola, Temi Olukunle, Shola, and Kende. You can be sure we're still going to knock at your door one more time. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.